I stopped recording. I said, I'm not gonna be an idiot and sit here and do all this stuff for everybody, and I'm not gonna see anything from it. Next thing I know, money come, with this bullish mafia mentality with him and his goons and all.
Guys, let's talk about Craig Mack. See, it's messed up enough that Craig Mack started Bad Boy and got them off the ground, but we all know that Diddy and his freak parties, that's what exposed Craig Mack and got him HIV.
Now this was some real drama. When Netflix dropped its huge 2025 documentary, fans were quick to spot something strange. Craig Mack's name was barely mentioned. That sent shockwaves through hip-hop circles, because Mack wasn't just another artist. He was the guy who helped launch the label into the spotlight with his classic hit, Flavor in Your Ear. That track wasn't just a song, it was a whole movement. It earned him a Grammy nod and gave the label its first taste of real fame. But the documentary, it brushed past his story like it barely mattered, skipping over the key parts, his rise, his sudden departure, and the mystery that followed. Fans online couldn't believe it.
Craig Mack, if he didn't change management, he wasn't f***ing with him no more. You understand? And they had a real big beef.
People started posting non-stop, saying how the doc left out major details about his journey. Viewers were confused and heated, asking what really went down during that crucial part of his career. Some even started their own deep dives, trying to piece together what might have been hidden. Craig Mack sadly passed away in 2018 from reported heart failure. But even years later, fans are still debating what was left unsaid. None of the online theories have ever been proven, yet the buzz shows just how much people still respect his name and want the real story told.
Congratulate Craig Mack on his Grammy nomination.
No question.
Yes, baby, yeah. Cool, that's cool.
Mack's beginnings were humble but powerful. He grew up in Brentwood, Long Island, New York, a calm neighborhood far from the flashing lights of the music industry. But that didn't stop him from dreaming big and leaving his mark forever. At Bad Boy, things didn't start out all glitz and glamour. There were no luxury studios, no big-time industry connections, just raw local talent and pure determination. Everyone was hustling, chasing dreams with nothing but drive and passion. From early on, Craig Mack was obsessed with rap. He studied rhythm like it was science, mastered wordplay like poetry, and treated storytelling like it was sacred. Hip-hop wasn't just a hobby to him. It was his whole mission. That dedication shaped his sound and even helped define an entire generation of music.
His money for his music. So Puff said, yo, I ain't with that kid no more. Not at all. I was right there when he said that.
Mack was out there grinding before the spotlight ever hit. He performed anywhere that would give him a mic. Block parties, small clubs, whatever. Back in 1988, calling himself MCEZ, he dropped his very first single, a track that showed sparks of his confidence and raw skill, even if it didn't blow up right away. There were no big radio spins yet, no flashy deals waiting for him, but that didn't stop Mack. He kept building his name the hard way, rocking live shows, writing non-stop, and tightening his flow with every bar. That relentless hustle finally started paying off in the early 1990s when everything suddenly changed. One night outside a New York nightclub, Craig was doing what he always did, freestyling for the crowd, keeping his energy high and connecting with people. According to reports, that's when a rising figure in the industry spotted him and couldn't look away. His voice, his confidence, his presence, it was all electric. That street freestyle moment turned out to be life-changing.
I thought he was kind of cool at first, and then we started seeing some things.
And Craig Mack went to his grave mad at Bad Boy.
Soon after, Craig Mack became one of the very first artists to join what would grow into a powerhouse hip-hop label, the same one that would set the tone for the entire 1990s. At that time, the label was still just a dream in motion. No hitmakers yet, no blueprint for success, just bold vision and fearless creativity. Mack wasn't just another rapper on the roster, he helped build the label's sound. His raw delivery, unique flow, and effortless charisma fused the underground street flavor with mainstream energy. He created a sound that hit hard, felt real and stood out the second you heard it.
Wanted Craig Mack to wear suits and all this other stuff, and Craig Mack was trying to keep it gully. He was trying to keep it.
When LL Cool J and Busta Rhymes jumped on the Flavor in Your Ear remix, it was huge. That track united major forces from different corners of hip-hop, showing just how powerful and wide-ranging the culture had become. It wasn't just a remix, it was a full-blown moment in music history. The energy was wild, and it proved that the label behind Craig Mack was ready to go toe-to-toe with the biggest names in the game. But with all that success came big changes. While Flavor in Your Ear kept tearing up the airwaves, another artist from the same label started blowing up fast, grabbing massive attention from fans and the media. As that new star's fame exploded, word spread that the label's focus began shifting toward new projects and fresh faces. The hunger for something new was real, and it started to change everything behind the scenes. Mack, the artist who helped open the door and give the label its first shot of credibility, suddenly wasn't getting the same shine. His moment started to fade. Not because of drama or beef, but because the industry spotlight moved quick, chasing whoever was hottest at the time. Still, no one could deny that Craig Mack helped shape that signature early sound that put the label on the map. His rise had been fast, and when a company finds a breakout act, the machine naturally shifts toward the next big thing. All the promotion, money, and energy started flowing toward the next big thing. At first, it wasn't obvious. Fans were still rocking with Mack, but slowly, things started changing. The spotlight dimmed, the interviews slowed down, the label's focus leaned heavier elsewhere. Even though Mack stayed signed and kept making music, the push behind him wasn't the same. That momentum he once had started slipping away, piece by piece. Insiders said priorities inside the label were changing, and Mack's name wasn't being pushed like before. The hype machine that once lifted him up had moved on to someone else. When his next project, Operation Get Down, dropped, you could feel the shift. The album faced multiple delays, and when it finally hit shelves, the rollout was quiet. No major press runs, no heavy promo, no big marketing push like his debut had. Fans barely knew it dropped, and in an industry where timing and exposure can make or break your career, that kind of silence was deadly. Still, those who really followed the music knew what he brought to the table. Raw energy, unique flow, and that signature spark that helped start it all. His sound still echoed through the label's success, even if his name wasn't in every headline anymore.
In the back of the club, and I kicked a little freestyle rhyme for him and stuff like that. And he was like, yo, this stuff is all that, you know what I'm saying? Why don't you kick a little something with Mary J? So we did it like that, you know what I'm saying? The next thing you know, here I...
That slowdown hit hard. Fans who'd been craving new music from Craig Mack were left hanging, waiting longer and longer with barely any updates on what was coming next. The excitement that once surrounded his name started fading as new artists took over the spotlight. Behind the scenes, whispers grew louder that Mack was frustrated, creatively boxed in and stuck under a contract that left him a little freedom. He reportedly felt trapped, believing his deal was holding him back from teaming up with other artists or trying out new sounds. It was a breaking point, the kind of moment where his career seemed to keep moving, but he wasn't the one steering anymore. By 1996, Mack made a bold and surprising move. He filed for bankruptcy. Many didn't see it as a failure, though. Some thought it was a power play, a smart, strategic way to reset his situation and regain control over his career on his own terms. Industry insiders at the time speculated that the move might have been his attempt to break free, to start fresh, and to open new doors that his contract had locked shut. Around that same period, unconfirmed reports began circulating about what was going on behind closed doors. Mack's former wife, Roxanne Alexis Hill Johnson, later opened up publicly about that time, describing it as more than just a business dispute. It was something that shook him deeply on a personal level. She reportedly said that those years were packed with frustration, setbacks, and endless roadblocks that slowed his entire career down. Mack was caught in the middle of legal red tape and creative restrictions, a mix that left him feeling like the game he once loved was turning against him. What used to feel like a wide-open lane now felt like a steep uphill climb with no clear end in sight. When Netflix's new documentary dropped years later, fans noticed none of this was mentioned, and that didn't sit right with them. Viewers were left asking why such a major chapter of his story was skipped over. How could such a critical part of his struggle just vanish from the record? Later in life, Mack shared one story that gave fans a glimpse into just how much pressure he was under. He recalled being confronted by a music executive over unfinished material, a moment that, according to him, felt more like a threat than a conversation.
That remix on Craig Mack's song, and he went first on Craig Mack's song. When he did that remix, then it started been looking up for him.
He said the situation was tense and made him question how much control he really had over his music. Mack stood his ground, refusing to record under what he felt were unfair conditions, even though it only made things tougher. He never dropped names or pointed fingers, but that story alone revealed the kind of weight he carried during one of the hardest chapters of his career. He never tried to stir drama. He just opened up about how real the pressure behind the scenes could get in the music game. By the early 2000s, Craig Mack had made a life-changing decision. He stepped away from the industry completely. After years of chasing hits, fame, and studio sessions, he decided to leave it all behind. Then, in 2012, headlines surfaced saying Mack had joined a religious ministry down in South Carolina, and the news caught fans totally off guard.
Said that Craig Mack, he was going to Death Row, right? How did Biggie and Puffy feel about that?
That Craig Mack was going to sign to Death Row. He was going to be their first artist on Death Row East. He was coming in there with...
The ministry's leader even made public comments about Mack's arrival, confirming what many hadn't realized: he had walked away from music for good. For the group he joined, it wasn't just about a new chapter, it was a full spiritual rebirth. They described his journey as a clean slate, a fresh beginning, where he let go of the fast life and everything that came with it. To those inside that community, Mack's choice meant he had traded the noise of fame for peace, faith, and purpose. But for fans who still remember that explosive rise back in the 90s, his decision sparked endless questions. Why walk away so completely? Some believed it came down to personal struggles, the stress of the industry, and years of career setbacks. Others felt he was simply searching for something real, something that money or fame could never give him. Whatever the reason, one thing was obvious: Craig Mack wanted calm, clarity, and a life that truly felt like his own. To close friends and fellow artists, the move seemed sudden, even mysterious. But those who saw him later said he looked at peace. He had finally found what he'd been chasing all along: peace of mind, direction, and a sense of control that the music business had taken from him. Looking back, it's clear that Craig Mack's transformation was more than just a lifestyle change. It was a rebirth of spirit.
I stopped recording. I said, I'm not gonna be an idiot and sit here and do all this stuff for everybody, and I'm not gonna see anything from it. Next thing I know, money come, with this bullish mafia mentality with him and his goon.
His story evolved from that of a rising hip-hop star under constant pressure to a man rediscovering himself through faith and reflection. Far from the flash and cameras, interviews, and big stages, Mack lived quietly, choosing purpose over fame and inner peace over spotlight noise. On March 12, 2018, Craig Mack passed away at just 47 years old while living in Walterboro, South Carolina. He was miles away from the chaos of New York and Los Angeles, living a simple, private life. And for him, that seemed to be exactly what he had always been searching for. For fans, the news hit like a gut punch. One of hip-hop's early 90s pioneers was gone, and it didn't feel real. Craig Mack wasn't just another name. He was a key piece of the movement that helped shape an entire era. His breakout success, that unmistakable voice, and his confident flow set him apart in a crowded scene. And Flavor in Your Ear? That track became timeless, a hip-hop anthem that still bangs decades later, proof of the creativity and originality Mack brought to the culture. Even though his later years were spent away from the cameras, his impact never faded. When news of his passing spread, fans and fellow artists flooded social media, remembering not only his music, but also his decision to walk away from fame in search of peace and faith. That choice made people pause. It forced them to think about the real cost of the spotlight and how heavy fame can weigh on someone's spirit. According to official reports, Craig Mack passed from heart failure with no signs of foul play. Still, his sudden passing and his long absence from public life left fans reflecting deeply on everything he represented. They weren't just mourning an artist, they were mourning a story that felt unfinished. His journey showed how even at the top, the pressures behind the scenes can hit hard and leave scars that the public never sees. Craig Mack had helped define a golden moment in hip-hop's evolution, yet chose to step away and live quietly, taking much of his untold story with him.
Craig started becoming disenchanted. You got nominated for a Grammy, but we had...
That decision left fans wondering what really went on behind closed doors, what struggles he faced, what dreams he had to set aside, and what peace he finally found after walking away from it all. Even now, conversations about him haven't stopped. People still talk about the pressures he faced, the tough choices he made, and how his strength to choose a different path changed how we look at fame itself. His departure from the spotlight, mixed with reports of contract disputes and industry complications, painted a picture of an artist caught between his love for music and a system that didn't always give him the freedom he deserved. Craig Mack's legacy became so much more than hits and charts. It became a symbol of endurance and truth. His life reminded everyone that the path to success in the music world isn't always glitter and glory. It can be filled with quiet battles, heavy choices, and the price of staying real when the industry keeps trying to change you. The pressure Mack faced wasn't something fans could always see, but it was real. Every decision, every album, every contract, every move came with consequences that shaped his path. His story showed that success doesn't always mean freedom, and fame doesn't always mean peace. Behind the curtain, the struggle was deep. Craig Mack had helped define a golden moment in hip-hop's evolution, yet chose to step away and live quietly, taking much of his untold story with him.
All this gospel music came on. And it was this song I've never heard before in my life ever, but I knew that it was God talking to me.
That decision left fans wondering what really went on behind closed doors, what struggles he faced, what dreams he had to set aside, and what peace he finally found after walking away from it all. Even now, conversations about him haven't stopped. People still talk about the pressures he faced, the tough choices he made, and how his strength to choose a different path changed how we look at fame itself. His departure from the spotlight, mixed with reports of contract disputes and industry complications, painted a picture of an artist caught between his love for music and a system that didn't always give him the freedom he deserved. Craig Mack's legacy became so much more than hits and charts. It became a symbol of endurance and truth. His life reminded everyone that the path to success in the music world isn't always glitter and glory. It can be filled with quiet battles, heavy choices, and the price of staying real when the industry keeps trying to change you. The pressure Mack faced wasn't something fans could always see, but it was real. Every decision, every album, every contract, every move came with consequences that shaped his path. His story showed that success doesn't always mean freedom, and fame doesn't always mean peace. Behind the curtain, the struggle was deep. And through it all, Craig Mack stood as proof that staying true to yourself might be the hardest and most powerful move an artist can make.
Guys, let's talk about Craig Mack. See, it's messed up enough that Craig Mack started Bad Boy and got them off the ground, but we all know that Diddy and his freak parties, that's what exposed Craig Mack and got him HIV.
A lot of people started noticing something strange. Every time a major documentary or retrospective dropped, the focus was always on the hits, the fame, and the label's rise. But when it came to Craig Mack himself, his real story stayed in the shadows. The challenges he faced, the frustrations he spoke about, and the truth behind his quiet retreat from fame were barely mentioned. It was like half his life had been edited out. Craig Mack's story turned into more than just another piece of hip-hop history. It became a wake-up call, a reminder that behind every hit song and flashy success story, there's a human being carrying unseen struggles, private battles, and sacrifices the public never sees. Even years after Flavor in Your Ear ruled the charts, Mack's name still carried weight, not just for what he created, but for what he endured. His journey stands as a powerful lesson in how talent, determination, and faith can survive even in a world full of pressure, silence, and sacrifice. His legacy isn't only about fame, it's about strength, resilience, and the reality that every artist's path has layers the world may never fully understand. In a resurfaced interview, Craig Mack didn't hold back. He spoke openly about how tough the music business could be. He wasn't angry, he was honest. He talked about the non-stop pressure that came with fame, the headaches of dealing with contracts, and the daily struggle of balancing loyalty, creativity, and business. His words pulled back the curtain and gave fans a rare, raw look at what sudden success really feels like when you're trying to stay true to your own vision.
Heart failure, you know what I'm saying?
Around that same time, conversations across the industry started heating up again about artist rights and publishing ownership. Those debates made fans look back at Mac's early career with new respect, even though there's no verified record that he ever regained full control of his catalog. The talks reminded everyone how much he had contributed to shaping one of hip-hop's most defining eras. Still, as new documentaries keep revisiting that golden age, Craig Mack's deeper story remains half told. The struggles, the quiet exit, the spiritual shift, it's all part of a powerful legacy that deserves to be heard. His story isn't just about what he lost, it's about what he stood for when the spotlight moved on, and how his truth still echoes through hip-hop today. Craig Mack was never just a background figure. He was one of the key voices that helped define an entire era before the label's biggest names even hit the spotlight. His energy, his sound, his originality, he built the foundation that others stood on. His passing from heart failure was a heartbreaking loss for hip-hop, but even now, his name still sparks conversations everywhere because his legacy runs way deeper than the music itself. It's easy to celebrate the label's latest success, the fame, the hits, the dominance, but what often gets lost are the real parts, the pressure, the choices, and the moments of reflection that showed who Craig Mack really was. Fans aren't asking questions out of gossip, they're asking out of respect. They want to understand why such an essential part of hip-hop history still hasn't been fully explored. Why were the moments that captured Craig's grind, dedication, and sacrifice left in the shadows? His story was never just about one legendary hit, it was about the unseen side of fame, the quiet battles behind closed doors, and the cost of staying real while building something groundbreaking. Craig Mack's journey reminds everyone that behind every top chart now lies a human story, one built on resilience, faith, and the constant fight to stay true to yourself in a world that keeps trying to change you. So as fans continue to revisit his music and uncover the deeper layers of his legacy, one thing's for sure, Craig Mack's spirit still lives through every beat, every lyric, and every artist he inspired. If you want more real talk, deep dives, and untold stories about hip-hop's forgotten legends, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss what's next. And drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep the conversation about Craig Mack and his lasting impact alive.